Hello, Shadday Church. My name is CHANTEL. I am 27 years old. This is my mom. I'm from Boston, and my mom is the one who introduced me to Shadday Church. This actually is my 7th service here, but I'm here today to share with you what I would call a journey as well as a miracle that God delivered to my door in 7 days.
Também acabei por entender agora o significado de tudo isso. A minha vida é muito complicada, momentos difíceis, como eu falei, comecei a vir no El Shadday, foi em 2022, se não estou enganada, foi uma prima minha que me convidou. Cheguei, me batizei, me entreguei minha vida a Deus aqui em El Shadday, me batizei. Mas, infelizmente, como aconteceu o que aconteceu, que tirou-me um pouquinho do caminho de Deus, a morte do meu filho, 2 anos atrás. E vim na igreja muitas vezes, a minha dor estava maior de que acreditar em Deus mesmo. Eu estava mesmo sufocada e perguntava por quê, por quê, por quê, por quê. E o ódio no meu coração da pessoa que tirou a vida do meu filho, que eu não conheço, nem sei. Mas em todo esse problema, todo o que passei, agora como a minha filha irá explicar, tentando pôr a vida para frente e tentando acreditar, por Deus em primeiro lugar, tendo vindo à igreja e tudo mais, mas mesmo assim com aquele aperto no coração e aquela voz falando, não, e não vá na igreja, ou fique com a sua focação na pessoa que matou seu filho, tudo isso. Mas com a notícia que eu tive a semana passada com a minha filha, eu acho que é uma prova de Deus, algo Deus me tentando mostrar, porque aí foi então que eu pus toda a minha fé em Deus mesmo. Tive que pôr a minha fé em Deus e Deus mostrou para mim, de maneira boa, espiritual, com milagre, vou falar, que encontrei no meu coração, depois de 2 anos e 3 meses, na quinta-feira passada, encontrei no meu coração para perdoar a pessoa que matou meu filho, porque não sou Deus, não sou juíza, só Deus é que sabe fazer justiça e deixar na mão de Deus. Então, com esse milagre agora, que eu posso falar milagre, solução, que seja, né? Mas a minha fé aumentou mais e estou agradecida a Deus. Agradecida.
On January 15th, I went for my regular physical like I do. I've lived a pretty healthy and blessed life, thankful to God. Never had any major health concerns, nothing. I've always done all my lab exams, all my testing consistently, and I've had no issues. I had small concerns, but when I left the doctor's office based off of speaking with my primary care, I was pretty confident. And, when you do lab exams, they're typically, it's a couple of an hour wait, sometimes even a day before your results get posted. So instantaneously, I started, every time they post a lab exam result, you get the notifications that, whatever result for whatever exam has been posted. All my exams were being posted, and everything, is saying good standing, low value, nothing out of range. My lipid panels, cholesterol, glucose level, everything pretty normal. And so after speaking with my mom, ironically, I was sitting in my living room. It was about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. My son was at school still, doesn't get off the bus till about 4:15. Making time, I was just listening to music on my laptop, just hanging out. And I received another email notification for a certain autoimmune disease screening. And when I opened the result, the normal value result is supposed to be negative. However, for mine, it said repeatedly reactive. Immediately, I kind of was alarmed because I felt like this is the first time that something is not in the normal range value. So what did I do? Get on Google, which is not something smart to do, I would suggest. I got on Google and started searching what that meant for me. And immediately it told me that I was positive for this autoimmune disease, which is something that is permanent. You carry for the rest of your life. You're on medicine for the rest of your life. And I started to panic right away. I felt my chest tighten. I got a little nervous. Having something permanent, being on medicine for the rest of your life, life expectancy decreasing. For me, someone who, I'm not too young, but I'm not old either. 27, I would never imagine and fathom that, like, you know, I can just wake up one day and this is my story. That night, I did not sleep. I tossed and turned all night, and I will say I came to God, but not in the way that I should have. I came to God with questions. I came to God with, why me? Why is this happening to me? I don't understand. And I'll be honest, even when I was praying, I feel like I was kind of angry and frustrated in my heart, which I don't think is a safe place to be and a good place to be when you come to God. You should come fearless and trusting. And I wanted to trust, but because of the news that was just delivered to my doorstep, I didn't, honestly. And I stayed up all night concerned, and my mom told me, you know, the doctor made it clear that they would call me at 3:30 the next day. Someone from disease control would contact me to speak further about, you know, my diagnosis and what this means for me. So I told my mom, can you come to me and be with me? I don't want to like listen to this on my own. So I spent the whole day. I got up. I tried to have hope. I kept my son home from school that day because I just felt like I needed him with me. I cleaned my house. I did that when my mom got there. It was about 3:15, I would say, 15 minutes to 3:30. I showered and I just sat there waiting by the phone. 3:30 came, no phone call. Time passed a little bit. I started to get preoccupied. And then around 3:50, going on to 4 o'clock, they finally called. She introduced herself. She's like, hi, how are you? Are you in a safe space? Are you free to talk? Immediately from my experience, you know, seeing that usually when you're getting asked, are you okay? Are you in a safe space? It's not always the best news that's being delivered. So everything is settling and my stomach is turning. I'm in knots. I'm like, okay, they're about to really tell me this is real. Like, it's not made up. And she tells me, so we sent your labs off, and even though it's supposed to take between 24 to 48 hours, at this point we're now at 24 hours since I've done the results. We haven't received the results back, but she made me aware because she's a specialist in this autoimmune disease. She made it clear that from her experience, she used the exact words that she is pretty confident that I have this disease. At that point, you know, my mom gets on the phone and she's speaking with the doctor for me, trying to get an understanding. And the doctor's just explaining to her what she told me, that, you know, she's confident that I have this. The results are, you know, 99.99% accurate. There's like a slim to nothing chance that I don't have it, but like I probably, you know, I do have this disease is what she wanted to say. And they went as far as to mark an appointment for the following Thursday, which was this week, January 23rd, as a patient of this disease, to come in and, you know, do a full analysis on my body, find out how far progressed the disease is and, you know, where I'm at and what would be the next steps in terms of medication and care of my body. So my mom's trying to sort this all for me, sets the appointment and stuff. And meanwhile, I'm still, you know, losing my mind. When she gets off the phone, we sit, we cry, we hug. My mom prays. I honestly say I didn't want to hear or be a part of any of that at all. She goes, you know, just come with me to Bridgewater, stay with me, and, you know, we'll just wait for the results that way. So, you know, I packed my son's clothes. I decide at this point he's not going to go to school. Tomorrow is Friday. So we start making our way to Bridgewater, and she's making it clear she's starting to rush because at this point it's about 5 o'clock.
Yes.
And there was church service that day at 7.
Yeah, it was 5:45.
Yeah, that we left
at 7:30.
So commuting from Boston, traffic hours, she's like, I have to go. She's like, I'm making it to church. I'm making it to church. She tells me in the car, you know, I'm going. I understand that if you're in a space where you don't want to come, I get it, but I would love for you to come. I didn't really give her an answer in the car, but when we got to her house, I felt desperate, maybe. That's the correct word to use. I'll be honest. I didn't feel like, oh, I felt faithful. I didn't feel faithful. I felt desperate. And I felt like, well, okay, I already have this disease, so I might as well go to church and I might as well pray, because what else is there to do at the point? And understand that that's not me saying that you should wait until you feel desperate or in complete despair, because this reality set in for me that is not the case. You should live in your faith at all times.
And to me, basically, that Thursday, the reason of me rushing and running to be at church, not only because, you know, every Thursday? Like, I look forward, like I count the days. Is it Thursday yet? I don't know. I've been feeling like that lately. Like, is it Thursday yet? Is it church day yet? But that day I felt it. I said, my faith has to be bigger than anything. I knew I had to pray and pray. And like I said, it would be understandable if she didn't want to come with me. But when I told her and she offered to come, I said, you know, I will pray, but maybe her praying for herself and really letting God get into her heart and get into her soul, it would have made, you know, even a bigger difference. And I strongly believe it did.
Yes. Immediately when I entered, you know, still feeling in desperation, one thing that I've always admired about church, because I've been a couple of times, like I said, 7 times here. I've been to other churches previously. Worship is a big thing for me. I always get really emotional. That is the time that I feel the most connected, the most, you know, touched. And so in worship, with the music and stuff, I was breaking down. I was crying. And not crying like I have to just continue to make it clear. Not crying in faith, crying in desperation, crying in anger, crying in sadness, hurt, depression. I felt all of those emotions at once, anxiety, my chest feeling tight. And I'm just like, God help me, because what else can I do at this point? And that pastor spoke of a story of a girl who was here in Boston in the hospital who they were saying was terminally ill. And he spoke about how God's word is bigger than, you know, what a doctor has to say, what science might have to say. The only person who has the final answer and the final say is God. And it was weird because I'm like, okay, this is kind of ironic when I think about what I'm going through right now, and this is the word for today. It felt personal to me. It was a feeling. It wasn't a sign. It wasn't the specific, like the word sat with me, but it wasn't even specifically the word. It was nothing but the Spirit of God in that room with me that was touching me and made me feel less fear. So I stood up and I continued worshiping and I continued praying. And by the end of service, you know, here at El Shadday, at the end, you know, you ask if you want to give your life to God to come forward. Understand that before the expansion of the church, I had previously given myself to God here at this church. But I didn't commit myself after. I didn't continue coming. I didn't continue, like, I prayed here and there, but it wasn't my priority. In that moment, I felt like I needed to give my life to God again. So I went forward and I gave myself to God. I signed my name on the wall, January 16, CHANTEL FURTADO, with the heart. And I told my mom, this isn't my story, and I know God is working through me.
Amen.
I even came out after service and spoke with Pastor Ezekiel, and I let him know. I didn't get into detail about what I was going through. I just told him I'm carrying something heavy right now, but I know and I have a feeling that God is gonna work this out for me. And he looked at me in my face and said, you're gonna come back and tell me about your miracle.
Amen, Gloria.
I'll be honest, in those days following, you know, Monday was a holiday, Martin Luther King Day. I had moments at home that I got discouraged. I was laying in bed one night and my heart felt tight and I started to get anxious. I was looking at pictures, you know, on Instagram of my friends with their kids and their families. And like in those moments, I was doubting. I was feeling like, oh, wow, like my life is over. And in those moments, I kept on thinking back to my experience here at church and I kept on praying. And specifically on Monday night, this is now day 6, Monday night, I went into the bathroom and I locked myself and I started crying and I looked in the mirror and I specifically said to God, in this moment, I feel anger. I feel frustration, and I know I shouldn't question you, but I am questioning you in this moment. I am wondering why this is happening to me, and I don't understand why. And I understand if you can't tell me why, but what I asked in that moment was for him to get rid of those negative feelings and thoughts that I was carrying. I wasn't worried about the outcome, but I was deeply concerned with the anger and anxiety that I was feeling in my faith at that moment. And I asked him to remove that. And instantaneously, you know, I dried my tears. And by the time I walked into the room, we were dealing with, you know, another family matter that we were talking about. And it was like all that stress was suddenly gone. Tuesday comes. day 7. This is the 21st, right? Yes, day 7, the 21st. Because understand that Friday she was supposed to call me. She did not call me. I called the hospital, and ironically, she wasn't in, even though she said she would call me and was supposed to be there. Saturdays, the weekend, wasn't there. Sunday, Monday, a holiday. So now we're on day 7 that I'm still waiting for these 48-hour results, but that I'm pretty confident based off of what she said that I have. My mom goes to work, and I'm laying out in bed, just trying to take it, waiting for a phone call. And she calls me and she's like, have they called you? You should call, speak to them. So I call up to the clinic and I'm like, hi, I've been waiting for my doctor to call me back regarding results that I was supposed to receive last week. It's been a whole weekend. I'm feeling really anxious. This is really important. It's something that I need to know for sure what's going on with me. Can someone please call me? And the lady goes, hold on, I'm going to speak to my supervisor. So she puts me on hold and goes to speak with someone. Had me on hold for about maybe 10 minutes, comes back and goes, a nurse is going to call you back in like 15 minutes. So I hang up. I'm like, a nurse is going to call me back. I'm thinking they're just going to confirm what I already know. So I'm starting to feel a little bit of hope, a little hopeless in that moment. But I'm still like, at this point, based on my experience with church, I left it in the hands of God. I'm like, whatever this outcome is, it's for a reason. So I wait. This was about 3 in the afternoon. My mom had been home at that time. She was upstairs cleaning the kids' room. I was in her room, and I get a phone call from the clinic. I answer, and it's the same doctor that I had spoken to, my mom spoken to that Thursday. And she goes, hi, Chantel, how are you? I have really good news for you. Immediately my heart kind of gets a little happy. And she's like, are you alone? Are you in a safe space? And I go, yes. And she goes, remember that small, tiny, tiny percentage that I told you is like nearly impossible, but it's such a small percentage of it being a false positive and you not having this disease? I was like, yes. She was like, I want to tell you you're that small percentage.
Glória a Deus.
And I just immediately, I didn't even question what happened, what went wrong. I was just like, thank God, thank God, thank God, thank you, God, thank you. I said thank you, God, to that woman over the phone maybe 5,000 times. I thanked her. I'm like, this is like the best news I could have received.
Glória a Deus.
I just couldn't even fathom how I was in this predicament. And I went screaming, running up the stairs to my mom, like, Mom, I don't have it. I don't have it. It was a mistake. It was just a miracle. Like, there's no other word for it besides a miracle, God's grace, God's plan. And understand that at this point, I had already accepted my faith, whatever it was. If I was supposed to have this, I was going to take it as, okay, what is my mission beyond this, and come to terms with it. But like 99.99%, and just like Pastor Ezekiel told me, the only word that is always 100%, that is always
Amen.
is the word of God.
Yes.
And this entire experience just showed me that like, it's so important to remain consistent, to remain faithful. It doesn't matter how big, how small your problems are. Sometimes we as humans make things harder on ourselves because we carry stuff. We come to church and we hear the word and they literally say, leave it at the altar, leave it at the hand of God. And we walk out of here still carrying those things, and we question why we're not receiving blessings, why miracles aren't happening. And it's like, if you ask physically, if you think about it, how can you receive something if you have no space to carry it? If in your heart, you're full of doubt, you're full of worry, there's no space for a miracle. There's no space. And this experience taught me that it doesn't matter what is thrown my way in life. There's no reason to fear because God is with me.